Howdy, howdy. Sudovil here, and welcome to a primer on the Dowie Dark Elves matchup. Now, I'm going to do these a little differently than I did the Lizardmen, where I did a ton of research up front and then really came to some conclusions after. I would like to put together a basic dwarf army for every one of these matchups and really kind of get back into multiplayer again and develop my armies over time. Now, we already have a base package for the Lizardmen, and I did a bit of a primer on the Tomb Kings, but I'll have to go back and take a look at them. But the idea being I'll do some basic testing and look at some of the units that really we can say that we need to watch out for, and some units we don't really need to consider, and just run some quick battles. This is not going to be a summary type of video. We'll save the summaries to the kind of the final video. I'll label it final when I've got more of a good summary on it, but I thought if there's people out there that would like to go through the process with me and do this sort of testing and see how I kind of start putting things together, and then how I do the testing, again, I know this type of testing is not for everybody, but I do know there's people out there that really do enjoy the detail portion of this type of analysis, and hopefully you can go on a journey with me as I get back into multiplayer and build up my Dowie army. So I did get a request to go through the Dark Elves, and I have done a little bit of preliminary testing. It's just on for an hour running units into units, but I thought I'd go through and really start looking at unit for unit and start to get an idea of which units in the Dark Elf roster really we have to watch out for and think about. So first things first, I think we can take a look at these bleak swords. They are the very basic infantry. We don't have to worry about the dread spears. These dread spears are the anti-large, so their stats, they do have better melee defense, but a lot of their they have a big bonus versus large, so they really won't last as long as the bleak swords in a battle. But we can go and test that, because this is what I think will happen, but we'll go give that a go. So let's go find those bleak swords at 450, and we will put them up against the Dowie infantry at also 450. Now, something that's important to the Dark Elves is all of them have this murderous prowess, or the Harganeth executioners have murderous mastery, which lasts for even longer. And once they have killed once so many units have died in the enemy army, they get a 90-second or 120-second buff, which is in this case 15 plus 15 leadership. Basically, they're not unbreakable, but they're not likely going to break. I mean, the Dark Elves have pretty good leadership to begin with. Plus 25% melee attack, plus 25% charge bonus, plus 20% armor piercing missile damage, and plus 30% vigor, which is a big deal. And we'll just take a look at the Harganeth executioners. They have murderous mastery, and it is 120-second buff, plus 25% charge bonus, plus 15 leadership, plus 25% melee attack, plus 30% vigor, and can cause fear. And this is a really huge buff, because that vigor is going to really help their armor and their melee defense and stuff like that. But let's just go and start running some units into each other, just to get a feel for which units are the ones we're going to do a deeper analysis on. And we'll go from there. So we got our Dwarf Warriors versus the Bleak Swords. So we'll just go and run them into each other and see how they do in this fight in general. And again, I'm not going to be taking any numbers down. I just want to get a feel for the infantry engagements and to see which units really tend to stand out in that engagement. And then once we find the standout units for the Dark Elves, we'll have to really work on finding a counter. So you can see we have, with our Dwarf Warriors, we have, the Bleak Swords have plus 12 melee attack and minus 10 melee defense, but they only have 30 armor. So that's, you can see here our Dwarfs are much better in melee. They're already winning that engagement. and the Bleak Swords are down to half. The Dwarf Warriors have 33 kills, the Bleak Swords at 15. So this is just a most likely going to be sort of a 20 out of 20 victory, a very reliable. Perhaps when you get that Murderous Mastery, it'll make a big difference, and we can go and actually give that a test. So we won that pretty easily. We're over at half health. They only got 20 kills. We got 67. So just out of curiosity to see how much of a difference that Murderous prowess will make on the battle, we'll just run a few extra units into each other. We know the Dwarfs will win very handily without that buff. Let's see what happens when we kind of get we'll call it a line versus a line, we'll say, and see how much of a difference that Murderous prowess is actually going to make. Okay, so we're relatively even up. These tests never go off quite right when you're playing around like this. But we'll see, we should see their Murderous prowess go off, and we'll see if we lose some of those engagements just out of curiosity. Here, we'll just pop those guys around, group, and we'll get them going. And what I said before, without the Murderous prowess, that's probably a 20 out of 20 victory for the Dwarf Warriors, and you know, maybe 19 out of 20. It's hard to say. Sometimes with the randomness it makes quite a big difference. So we'll see. The Bleak Swords do have a stat advantage on melee attack and melee defense, but they really lose out on that armor, which is a pretty big deal. Do we have any 2-on-1s? Let me just, okay, there they go. They have their Murderous prowess, and you can see now they have basically a plus 21 on melee attack over the Dwarf Warriors, and still that minus 10. But they do get a vigor buff, so I wonder if they're going to go up from very tired. See, the Dwarf Warriors are exhausted. These guys are very tired. I'll just try and get everyone fighting the right unit. Looks like we're winning all across the board now. I guess I would say it matters somewhat, but you know, maybe enough to turn the tide of a battle. We got a 2-on-1 there. Okay. Hard to say exactly, but it looks like our Dwarf Warriors are still going to win that pretty handily. May lose, yeah, maybe 1 in 20. Hard to say, but with that Murderous prowess, it's not a big enough impact to make a massive difference. You can really see, though, we went from having over half health to less than half health on most of our Dwarf Warriors. So it's not insignificant, that's for sure. And just out of curiosity's sake, I did say that the basic Dwarf Warrior, let me see, will beat the Bleak Swords, and the Dread Spears should, even though they have more melee defense, I would think that the Dwarf Warriors will do even better in this matchup as opposed to the Bleak Swords, because the basic Bleak Swords don't have that charge defense against large or anti-large, so you got to give something up to get that. So we'll go and take a look, and might take a quick peek at miners and miners with blasting charges against these basic infantry, just out of curiosity as well. Alright. It's highly unlikely you'll see these guys anyways, but maybe there might be a Dark Elf player that wants to put some of these guys in their front line just to hold for a little longer. I don't know. I don't know why they bring them. But yeah, you can see, again, Dwarf Warriors are winning that already, and yeah, 2 losses to 12 losses. Yeah, it's just pretty handy. The melee defense is the same, and the Dread Spears do have better melee attack, but they just have way less armor. They only have 30 armor compared to the Dwarf Warriors at 85. And it's really making a big impact. Yeah, we're showing winning winning current combat, winning decisively. Yeah, this seems, well, that's similar, but I would say we're looking a little better. I didn't take note of the numbers at the end for how many kills the other elf infantry got. Maybe 20 to 65, something like that. Okay, the battle. Let's just go take a look at miners. I think the miners will get tromped on. Miners they're just so weak, you know. Oh, excuse me. Alright, let's go to the Dark Elves, and instead of the Dread Spears, we're going to get the Bleak Swords, because you may see some Bleak Swords in there as just filler against the basic miners. So, the miners do have armor piercing, but the Bleak Swords just don't have a whole heck of a lot of armor. So, I really don't think it's going to make a massive difference. Put these guys here. It does make testing a little bit faster. Yeah, the miners really, they're giving up 28 stat points in melee attack and melee defense. Their armor is much better, but the miners only have 22 weapon strength because a big chunk of that is armor piercing. So when you have a lot of armor piercing damage, your weapon strength goes down. So fighting unarmored opponents isn't as big a deal, and you can see we're losing that pretty decisively. Yeah, unit winning decisively, and our miners are definitely going to lose that engagement. But just out of curiosity, we'll see how our miners with blasting charges do. The blasting charges are definitely worth more than that 75 gold differential. So it's the extra 75 gold. Their stats are all exactly the same, except the miners with blasting charges, of course, have blasting charges, and those blasting charges can be quite powerful on low armored troops like these Bleak Swords. So we'll see how much damage we do off the get here. See, okay, start that battle, and I'm not going to fast forward it. I just want to see these blasting charges land. Come on, boys, throw them. That's a pretty big chunk. We got 5 kills off the charge. Okay. Guns back out. Yeah, maybe I'll try and get them to use the rest of their ammo. Yeah, I'd say we got maybe a third of their health. Okay, and then we'll get in there and fight. So the miners lost pretty decisively against the Bleak Swords. The miners with blasting charges. I just don't know if they're gonna win that. Still, maybe they took a full third of their health off with their blasting charges, and the combat's taking a lot longer, of course. Yeah, and these guys are very tired. Seems when the units lower, they get tired faster when they have less total units. Yeah, here's the weakness of our miners. They're starting to get shaken. We're only at 9 leadership, and looks like we're gonna lose this. Yep, still lost. Interesting. So even with our miners blasting charges getting off that that volley, still lost that engagement. So interesting. We got a lot of kills though, 56 kills, which is not too bad. Like if you can get off your blasting charges, those miners with blasting charges will pull more than their value in a general way. So we've got the Bleak Swords and the Dread Spears, and really, well, maybe I should take the Dwarf Warriors with great weapons just out of curiosity, because this is the basic unit, and we'll see how these Dwarf Warriors with great weapons match up. Again, we're not going to get the full benefit of our Dwarf Warriors with great weapons because they just don't have any armor, so I don't think this would be nearly as good a matchup as our normal dwarf warriors with our one-handers and shields. We actually were giving up 17 stat points in this engagement. And they're giving up a lot of armor, but it doesn't really matter because this is an armor-piercing unit. Well, it looks like we're going to win that. So the engagement might take less time, maybe, as opposed to the regular dwarf warriors. We'll see if we survive with more than half health. It doesn't look like we're going to. Even though we're definitely winning that. I would say that it doesn't seem like... And that's weird how sometimes your units kind of get stuck behind and they just go back. Like you can see these units here. They're just stuck in a row. You can keep on clicking them. Sometimes that will get them to fall in line. But yeah, we're definitely less than half health. Doesn't seem to have taken a less time, I would say. But we've definitely lost. I'd say... I think we had over 3,200 health with our regular dwarf warriors. So... really not a great engagement for our dwarf warriors with great weapons, particularly considering they're 50 gold more in that configuration, or in that engagement. So, alright, we'll end that battle. And of course our higher tier infantry will have no problems at all with bleak swords. So they're not really a unit to be all that concerned with. If you see them on the battlefield from the Dark Elf player, they're really just filler. The two, well, I guess we'll go through all of them, but where's their infantry? Really, these Black Ark Corsairs are definitely something we need to make note of because they are anti-infantry. And they don't have a whole lot of armor piercing, though, but that bonus versus infantry does make a difference. So we'll get the Black Ark Corsairs in there. Alright, where are they? Yeah, and they, like, the Dark Elves got they have a lot of choice between sort of that 600 and 800 range for their units, which is really, really quite good. So, Black Ark Corsairs, I'm sure you'll see some of those. Well, we'll see. We'll go take a look at, first of all, just a regular Longbeard. They're 650, 650. We'll see how they match up. Generally, Dwarf Infantry is going to be straight up better than most infantry at their gold level. I would say because the Dawi don't have magic, we don't have like mechanics like you know, martial prowess or a lot of these things that some of the other are murderous prowess. A lot of these things that other factions have, or like the healing that you have with the undead. These types of things. So the dwarf infantry stat for stat just tend to perform quite well because we don't have the same level of buffs or any healing or anything like that. But it looks like this is just a straight up victory for our Longbeards, and our Longbeards are just an amazing unit all around. But it doesn't look as though it is as convincing as it was at the lower tier, because we are definitely we're definitely getting to below half health, and they're still fighting on. So I would guess that these Black Ark Corsairs are definitely going to maybe win 1 in 10, just as it is, but with their murderous prowess, they're going to win a lot more. So let's do a quick lineup. See if we can get 5 units versus 5. I think 5 versus 5 lines up alright. So we'll go check that out here. And see if we can get that martial murderous prowess to proc and see how it does. So we lost 35. So we'll get 5 versus 5. The Black Ark Corsairs, and see if we can get their murderous prowess to proc. Alright. And see if it makes a difference. If they win any of these 5 with that, I mean, then it's something to really be noted. If a unit can't win but 1 in 20, it's they'll need some sort of significant buff to win. Okay, let's just grab these guys. Make sure we get that engagement off correctly. Alright. Hopefully they don't do anything goofy. Alright, everything looks relatively good. It's pretty good engagement. And we know I'd say our Longbeards are winning 9 out of 10 of those engagements. 9 out of 10 are better from what I saw in that first battle, and they're all winning except for these guys. These guys are losing. Though it doesn't look like they're losing on health. Well, maybe. Yeah, the Black Ark Corsairs have killed 20 and we've only killed 17, so relatively close. So maybe they on their own they're winning 1 out of 10 to 1 out of 5. But that Murderous Prowess should proc here pretty soon, and we'll see how much of a difference that makes. Okay, we're winning all of them except this one's going back and forth here. Looks like it's going to be close, but I still don't see that Murderous Prowess. There it goes. So it's finally proccing, but it may be too little too late. 5 units may not be enough to do this properly, because it looks like we're still winning. Yeah, win. And it looks like they're going to win this. But we didn't get their full use of that in all across the board. And won 1 out of 5. So let's go and just look and see if we can get 10 on the battlefield and see if we can get that to proc earlier, so all of the Dark Elf units get the proc. And yeah, kind of once you get over 5, the lineup doesn't quite go right. But we'll just do it for fun anyways. 1, 2, 3, 4. There we go. And get these guys in there. And we see if we get it to proc earlier, we should see all of their units getting their full 90 seconds with Murderous Prowess, and that should give us a much better idea of the difference. Okay. Okay, this. Alright.
Aye, as ye command. We demand blood. Attack! Right! Have a them! Will do! Yes! Kill them! Kazook! For the ancestors!
See how that goes. Ain't gonna be pretty, but yeah, they got a 2-on-1 here. We got a 2-on-1 here. 3-on-3, 3-on-3. So they should get their Murderous Prowess proc a lot earlier. And again, it looks like we're winning more than half, I would say, right now. I want to just grab these guys and bring them over here. Get them engaged with you. There we go. That should clean that up a little bit. There we go. So now they got their Murderous Prowess a lot earlier. And a lot of these fights are a lot more even to begin with. Just try and make sure everyone is properly engaged. Oh, we got one routing here. And one of ours is going to route up here. So we're one for one. Won another battle over here. They won another one over here. Yeah, that's much closer. But the Dwarf Infantry is still, I would say, winning that in general. Yeah. But not clearly, I would say, just in general. Where are you guys? Alright, so end that battle. See what the end plates look like. We took 500 losses. They took 600. So it is, with all their Murderous Prowess going off, it is much closer with the Longbeards versus the Black Ark Corsairs. That's a definite for sure. So I would say still the Longbeards are better, even with their proc going off for the full time, but not a ton. Alright, just out of curiosity. Okay. I want to see if I can get a Dwarf Warrior in there. Is there any good stat points? 23, 41. Nah, it doesn't look like there's any really... Oh, there we go. That's probably the best one, but that's basically a Longbeard. Okay, let's try 5 chevrons. That's a full, basically a full 100 gold lower than these guys. And I just want to see how, like, this is potentially a matchup where Dwarf Warriors, basic Dwarf Warriors, could be useful on the edges, maybe. So we'll just see how a Dwarf Warrior with 5 chevron just matches up. This is not an engagement I would want to take generally, but we'll see how well we do. We should do okay, because we're definitely, I would say, losing. So it's close. We've only killed 7, they've killed 11, so we're definitely, we're losing there. Well, we're catching up now. It's kind of a close fight with 5 chevrons, and that's with no murderous prowess. So kind of some potential there, maybe. Alright, we're still even on the kills. I think the Dwarf Warriors have a little better leadership. But where the Black Ark Corsairs would demolish the Dwarf Warriors when they get that murderous prowess, they get the leadership, they get weapon damage, and can manage there. So that's a 50-50 battle, I would say, more or less, with the edge to the Black Ark Corsairs because they're going to get the murderous prowess. So maybe the Dwarf Warriors win 1 out of 5 of those with murderous prowess, maybe 1 out of 10. But it's pretty close in general. Alright. So the next unit I want to take a look at. Alright, had a nice little glitch there. Anyways, as I was saying, the next unit I want to take a look at is, well, I do want to take a look at the Witch Elves. Well, why don't we take a quick peek at them, just out of curiosity. Really, it's the Harganeth Executioners. These guys look awesome, and I think they are awesome. The Blackguard of Naggarond I don't think will be nearly as good because they're anti-large. They're meant for a different purpose. So let's go get some Witch Elves here. 800. And let's just put them up against a basic Dwarf Warrior. See if Dwarf Warriors can handle those Witch Elves or not. I would guess they should be able to, because they have a lot of armor, and the Witch Elves have none. It's kind of like Witch Elves they're kind of like Slayers in a way, and Slayers just, they're so poor in any infantry engagement. I don't know that you'd see a lot of Witch Elves in this matchup. Maybe you see one, but I would guess the Dwarf Warriors will do pretty good. Well, maybe not. Those Witch Elves are doing... Do they have anti-infantry? They do. They do have a bonus versus infantry. And they have Frenzy as well, which is quite good. Plus 12% weapon damage. Oh yeah, they're pretty solid actually. And they have physical resistance of 20%. Okay, well these Witch Elves are no joke. Well, that's good that we know that. Let's go grab a regular Longbeard and see how they do. Yeah, 650 versus 800. How's a regular Longbeard gonna do in this matchup? I would have expected them to be more like Slayers, but they're not bad. Slayers have struggled with any kind of infantry engagement, but that's not what they're meant for. They're meant for anti-large, and the Witch Elves look like they have... Don't look like they have... They exactly have a bonus versus infantry. They have 9 armor piercing damage. you know, good melee attack, and this Madness of Cain gives you minus 10% melee defense and Rampage. They're not going to take some Longbeards, are they? Well, they got a 1-point stat disadvantage, but a huge disadvantage on armor, but they have that 20% physical resistance. Oh, wow. They can take Longbeard straight up. That's really interesting. So that's worth noting. Looks like they're going to win quite a few of those. Okay, let me see. Those Witch Elves. Wow. I'm quite impressed. Let's give the Longbeards 1 chevron. That 1 chevron gives you 3 stat points. We'll see if that makes the difference to really pull that from a kind of 1-5 victory to a 4-5, sort of something like that. Or a 2-5 to 3-5. That gives us a bit of an edge.
For the High King!
I'm going to put my Slayers up against them too, just out of curiosity. That physical resistance is pretty huge. Yeah, these extra 3 stat points really shifts that differential quite a bit. We got Madness of Cain on us. Yeah, our melee defense is... yeah, reduces 10% melee defense, so... Well, it looks like they're still pulling it out, maybe? It's close. Like three stat points when they're this close should make enough difference to make the Longbeards win, but maybe not. Maybe they still need a few more. Well, they might win it. Oh, that is awfully close, though. Looks like the Witch Elves are going to take it. Eesh. Yes, they do. They take it again. All right. Well, let's give them our magic 4 chevrons. We know that from our Lizardmen testing that's a really nice stat point, a really nice stat level for Longbeards. It almost brings them up to the same value of the Witch Elves. Let's see if we can win that one. I have a lot of respect for these Witch Elves. They're pretty darn good. But they seem vulnerable. But 20% physical resist. Oh, you know who I want to put up against them is the Warriors of Dragonfire Pass. Okay, we'll do this. See if our Longbeards can win with that magic 4 chevrons, which is a really nice stat position for them. And it looks like they're winning now. But that should go down once they get Madness of Cain on them. Yeah, there's a Madness of Cain. Yeah, looks like they're doing much better. They're still winning, even though they have Madness of Cain on them. Interesting. So with the 4 chevrons, they look like they're much more solid against the Witch Elves. All right. Let's go and grab our Warriors of Dragonfire Pass, because they have physical resist, and the Warriors of Dragonfire Pass do fire damage. So we'll end that battle. So it looks like the Longbeards with 4 chevrons are going to pull that one out. I mean, and it all depends. I mean, if they get their murderous prowess and they have other units fighting, it's going to be a different story, of course. But let's grab our Warriors of Dragonfire Pass. We know they're pretty good to begin with, and they have anti-infantry, and they do flaming attacks. So they technically should do much better against the Witch Elves. They should really chew them up, because they're not doing physical damage, they're doing fire damage. And the Warriors of Dragonfire Pass are just a really solid unit all around. Alright. So I would expect them to win this pretty handily. But who knows? Alright. Well, it shows that they're losing. We still have a stat advantage. They're going to lose too. Wow. Witch Elves are something else. So I don't know about the Warriors. I would have thought the Warriors, like I said, I would have thought the Warriors of Dragonfire Pass win that running away. because they're not doing physical damage. They're doing fire damage. But it doesn't look like they win that. Maybe they win 1 in 10, 1 in 5. Interesting. Okay, we'll end that battle. Witch Elves are quite a dangerous unit, actually, which I wouldn't have expected. Let's grab a Slayer. Just see how the Slayers do against the Witch Elves. Just out of curiosity. Slayers do poorly against most infantry. Like, really poorly against most infantry. But let's see how they match up against these Witch Elves. The Battle of the Shirtless Warriors, we'll call this. Well, it's gonna go fast. Holy Witch Elves. Slayers are gonna barely win it, but I wouldn't want to take that engagement and come off with you know, a sliver of health left. Huh. So I guess really we'd be looking to see if we can't manage those Witch Elves before they get into the front line. Okay, let's end that battle. Alright, end the battle. Let's just take a quick look at a configuration. I want to see how much damage we can do to them with just a ranger before they arrive. Like 400, this is 950, and these guys are 800. Okay, so I just want to see how much our rangers will do to those Witch Elves before they even get there. That physical resist is pretty big. I'm surprised they did so good against the Warriors of Dragonfire Pass, though. I'm not surprised, so surprised about the Slayers. Okay, we'll just put our Dwarf Warriors out front. Okay, and we'll start that battle. Just get this going. Yeah, they're pretty vulnerable. We've only got 7 kills, but we've taken what would I say? You know, 1500 HP off of them. And I mean, if we keep that fight going, let's just see. They should keep shooting in there, just barely. Yeah. Okay, so we win that pretty handily in that case. Why, Madness of Cain is on, so they will not stop chasing.
Yes.
Interesting.
Yes.
Okay, there we go. Yeah, so it would seem to me that you're gonna have to pay attention to them Witch Elves. Well, that's all there is to it. Wow. They're a pretty tough little unit. So, you know, this Harganeth Executioners, where are they? That's who I was so worried about. But these Witch Elves, I would say that they could be a pretty decent unit to bring into battle. Like, do they pull their value, though? I don't know. They're not awful. So these Harganeth Executioners, they're the unit I want to look at there. Anti-infantry, armor piercing, 100 armor, 42 weapon strength, 38 melee attack, 34 melee. They're just a great unit all around. There's just no doubt about it. So where are they? Harganeth Executioners. And let's just put a unit that's a little cheaper, the Grumbling Guard. These Harganeth Executioners are 1200. So let's take our Grumbling Guard. We know them to be a pretty good unit. And, well, they're an essential unit against the Lizardmen. Let's put them up against these Harganeth Executioners. And remember, this is without Murderous Mastery. So we just have to account for that in some way when we kind of get looking. But let's see how these Longbeards, the Grumbling Guard, are going to do against the Harganeth Executioners. Just a straight up fight. And these 1v1s are really a stat fight as opposed to a buff fight. Oh, they are losing. Like, losing hard. Well, how about that? Harganeth Executioners. That's not even close. Grumbling Guard are going to win 1 in 20 of them. And that's without the Murderous Mastery proccing. Huh. Let's take a quick peek at a... If I bring these up to rank 9, what are the stat points I get? They're about the same as the Grumbling Guard, so it's not really worth looking at. And the Longbeards. Let's just take our Longbeards at 4. And just out of curiosity, let's see how long they're going to hold against those Harganeth Executioners with 4 chevrons. Doesn't look like it doesn't look like that long. Those Harganeth Executioners look pretty deadly. They don't have shields though. This is something to note. Thunderers will chew them up. Well, I guess any ranged will do some damage to them. So let's just see how long our basic Longbeards with 4 chevrons, who are quite good against the Witch Elves and will definitely beat the Black Ark Corsairs. Whew, they are getting demolished and fast. Yikes. Alright. 22 kills to 0. 29 to 1. Holy crap. So we don't have anything below Longbeard that's even going to be worth sending up against these Harganeth Executioners, even to slow them down. Because clearly our Longbeards are not slowing them down. Even though they have a 14-point stat advantage. That was brutal. Alright. Yeah, 10 losses to 56. Those Harganeth Executioners look pretty good. Alright, so let's take our hammers, I guess. Our hammers are cheaper at 1100. Harganeth Executioners at 1200. So let's take a look at that fight. And see, our hammers should do really good. And hammers are pound for pound. They're just an unbelievable unit. Okay, and they're actually cheaper than the Harganeth Executioners. So they should stand up pretty well. Are they green? Well, they're even. Yeah, combat looks like it's pretty even for their... Oh, it looks like we're winning. Yeah, we're definitely winning here. Alright. Yeah. It's close, though. I think we're probably winning 4 out of 5. Yeah, maybe 3 out of 5. 4 out of 5. Maybe. They're 54 to 68. Let's end that battle. Yeah, maybe we win 3 or 4 out of 5, somewhere in there. Just out of curiosity, let's get that martial mastery or prowess to proc. Let's see what we get. Okay, we can get it to proc real quick and see how our hammers do when that is going off. Alright. So it looks like our hammers can win that fight, but I mean, and when we go and do the full analysis, we'll really look at we'll really try and look at it from a value proposition and really analyze our chevrons and kind of take a look at how we're going to do when we bring our gold into the equation. Green, green, red, red, red. About half green, half red. More than half red. Now we're losing big time over here. We got some routing units. And now they've got their murderous prowess. Well, that's something to be very concerned about, actually. When they get that, murderous mastery, they're winning. Straight up. Okay, let's see how the kills... We lost 603 to 450. So they got 150 more kills with the murderous prowess. Alright, let's just take a quick peek. We go 1... Yeah, we can go 2 chevrons here. at 1184 to their 1200, so we're still a bit cheaper. But let's just go and take a look and see if that can turn the tide of this. We lost the encounter by 150 total units. And we'll see how our hammers do with a few extra, just 2 extra chevrons. Alright. Let's get it going, boys. About the same green to red across with the red axes across the top. There goes their murderous mastery. And that's what really crushed us last time. Sure look like we're winning more than we're losing. It's close. We're losing up here. They're losing some. You know, it's a lot closer. Yeah, we're winning that. Even when they had their murderous prowess go off for its full buff. Okay, so it's close. So I would say we'll end that. Yeah, so we basically with 2 chevrons we completely reversed that. We lost 150 more to them last time, and they lost about 140, no, 120 more than us. Whatever. Basically a complete reversal with those extra. I had 3 chevrons. So no, I had 2. Yeah, we got some chevrons during the fight. So it looks like hammers with 2 chevrons are going to generally defeat Harganeth executioners, I would say. Let's just get rid of those guys. And just out of curiosity, well, let's just for fun, we'll get the Harganeth executioners. Alright, we'll get the Peak Gate Guard. Go, boys. And our Peak Gate Guard should chew these guys up pretty quick because they have armor sundering. But should get a bit of a feel for that. The other Harganeth executioners are no joke. They don't have shields. So that is something that is noteworthy. So maybe they're really a unit we need to have Thunders ready for or something like that. See how the Peak Gate Guard does. Well, they're beating them. Not as handily as I'd like to see, to be perfectly honest. With PK, because PK Guard are really awesome. Yeah, they're... They chewed the Harganeth executioners chewed them right up. What did we do for losses? 45 to 67, so... Man. These Harganeth executioners are really, really good. But they don't have shields, so just the Blackguard and Negron. I doubt you'd see these guys. They're 1300. Where are they? But just out of curiosity, let's put a group of hammers up against the Blackguard of Negron. I don't know why you would see them. 3840. Let's just look at them compared to Harganeth executioners. Oh, that's a cold one. Dread Knight. Whoops. 1300. Here we go. Blackguard of Negaron. I just want to see their stat differential to the Harganeth executioners. Well, they have 12 more stats, and it's shifted towards melee defense and HP. So they should be a little bit more robust, but they do cost 100 more. So we'll see if the hammers can take them. I would guess that they should be able to, if they can take the Harganeth executioners one-on-one, although it's close. We'll see if they can take the Blackguard of Nagaron.
Kill the orc splitters!
Alright.
Slay the orc breakers!
There we go. Oh, they went straight to green. We're at a 4-point stat differential, but where the big stat differential is, the hammers have this amazing weapon strength. Yeah, and they're tearing these Blackguard up. I mean, tearing them up. A bit of an overstatement. They're winning. They're not going to have a ton of health left, though, but they're going to win pretty handily for a unit that costs 1,100 versus a unit that costs 1,300. It looks like. Maybe not. Maybe they're going to lose. Close. And that's without their murderous mastery either. Alright. Well, that's why you do the testing. So, the Blackguard of Nagaron, even without murderous mastery, can beat our hammers. Why don't we just stick a full line of hammers out there? And we know these guys will beat, with 2 chevrons, or can beat the Harganeth Executioners. So let's see if they can also beat the Blackguard of Nagaron. Take one less. One less. We'll just see how they match up in that fight. Well, maybe you will see the Blackguard of Nagaron. Even though the Dowie don't have anything that's large. Can't see it, but they're certainly not awful. Okay. We got 2 chevrons on all our hammers, so we'll probably get to see a... Oh, and it's a really nice engagement. The AI cooperated. Great. Or maybe they didn't. Do they have a... they have a 2-on-1 here. Let's go you. Go here. There's the Murderous Mastery. Let's make sure I've got everyone properly engaged. Murderous Mastery is still going off. And now it's completely off. So they've got their full 120-second buff, it looks like. And are they going to win any over here? Looks like they're going to win that one. And this one. So they're going to win 2. Go in there. Yeah, there they go. Alright. In battle. So, well, I'd say the Blackguard and Nagaron are no better than the Harganeth Executioners, and they cost 100 extra gold. I think that'd be fair to say. So, that is, you know, quick look at the infantry. Let's actually take a look. Let's get the Harganeth Executioners. And we're going to take a look at the Ironbreakers here. That'll be a very good and interesting test. Because they are exactly the same cost. And Ironbreakers do have a charge defense against all. These guys have pretty good charge bonus, so let's... And they have their blasting charges. Let's see how this ends up. And the Ironbreakers got more AP in the last patch. So let's take a look at that. Okay. We'll just let them come in. We'll see if they kind of... they have some good shots off. We'll see if they keep shooting. I'm not going to keep throwing, it doesn't look like. Let's just get them all in there fighting. The Ironbreakers look like they're winning. Now they're kind of even. Huh? Winning back and forth, we'll see. This fight will take a long time for sure. Huh. Yeah, like the Ironbreakers have a big stat advantage. Like, we're talking 24 stat points. Oh, those Harganeth Executioners are doing alright though. Huh. They're not going to win this, are they? Well, they might. This is close. Oh my god. Even with the blasting charges. Wow. Even with the Ironbreakers getting their blasting charges. Okay, I want to take a look at the Ironbreakers, how they're going to do without the blasting charges. Like, I realize they just lost there. But just let's take a look at a straight up melee fight. And then we'll take a look at the Norgrim. These Harganeth Executioners are freaking good. Like, I think in this matchup, the Dowie definitely needs something to deal with them. We'll just take them off there. And since we have charge defense against all, we'll just sit there and let them charge in. Just for fun. Take a look at that and speed that up. And we'll get our Ironbreakers to fight. Yeah, our Ironbreakers are just losing. And badly. Huh. Like, we got a really hefty stat point advantage. I mean, we do have our blasting charge we didn't use, but like, these guys are gonna win with near half health left. Like 3,000 for them is half health, and they've won with more than half health against Ironbreakers. All right, let's end that, and without murderous mastery proccing either. Wow. Okay, let's just take a look at the Norgrimlings Ironbreakers out of curiosity. Okay, see how they do against the Harganeth Executioners. We show a big advantage in the balance of power, but there is no doubt we have to account for those guys. Okay, and again, we'll let them charge, but we'll use our blasting charges again. Norgrimling's Ironbreakers should tromp on these guys. Well, I say should, but who knows? Oh, they got some shots off. Make sure they get fighting. They're definitely in the green. They do have better stat, like still have better stats, including a anti-inf. Oh no, wait. No, they just have good armor piercing. I don't know. They just have better stats in general. These Norgrimlings Ironbreakers, and a lot more health and everything. Yeah, and they're beating them pretty handily now. And they have what? 6,000 out of 8,000, 8,500. So, you know, 65% of their health left. So they're gonna pull gold in that. So regular Ironbreakers, no, I don't think so. But the Norgrimlings are definitely a choice to consider, because they'll hold and hold, and they seem to be the only group that will. So yeah, 20 losses to 50. Well, just looking at the infantry, bleak swords, you might see a few just on the edges or something, I don't know, for something to do at 450. Although if you had 450 left over, I think I might get some cav or something instead, but who knows, maybe they would want some bleak swords to hold something. Blackheart Corsairs are good, are decent, but the The Longbeards are just straight up better. These Witch Elves are really interesting. They're quite a good unit for 800. I think in this matchup, the Dowie need to have an answer. Well, maybe don't need to have an answer. I don't know. It just... These Witch Elves are better than I thought, so maybe I'm just still surprised at how good they did, and when we get looking at the gold differential, it'll pull something else, but these Harganeth Executioners are really good. Very, very strong. Although we do have, like, definitely have an answer. Norgrimling's Ironbreakers are good, but the hammers with 2 chevrons, even when the Murderous Mastery procs, they're still going to generally win that engagement. But it's kind of interesting just to take a peek at their infantry. Like, I don't know what kind of front line they're going to make. Like, you know, Black Ark Corsairs, 2 Harganeth Executioners, maybe a Witch Elf, something like that. Like, that's I mean, like, these Harganeth Executioners are pretty good. Maybe you don't have a Witch Elf. Maybe you have like 3 Harganeth Executioners, 2 Black Ark Corsairs, maybe something like so. Kind of mix them into your line, something like that. I don't know. The thing is, those Harganeth Executioners are quite vulnerable to any Dowie arrows. So let's I think I'll continue some testing on the Harganeth Executioners as a primer. Again, on this first bit, I want to try and put together a basic dwarf army with some really... This is the kind of the preliminary testing and playing around that I do. I thought I might as well put it on, record it for anyone who's really interested in this kind of stuff. Looking at this, so I go through and do testing like this before I really do my serious testing and start taking data, just to get a feel for which units are standouts, you know, which units look like they're going to be something that has to be accounted for. And these Black Ark Corsairs, meh, they're good. I mean, you're gonna see them, I'm sure. Maybe, you know, 2 or maybe none, but these Harganeth Executioners, gotta account for them, but they're very expensive. So you know, maybe a combination, as a cheap combination, could do good against them. I'll just want to do one more test. Okay, we know we can take our Longbeards, 4 chevrons, and let's put a bolt thrower in there. This is going to be, we're 11,082. They're 11, so we're 100 more gold about. And if without these chevrons, we should be the same, right? 11,200, 11,200. Well, let's just take them at the same price then, just for curious. So this is these 2 units, the Longbeards and the bolt thrower, cost exactly the same as the Harganeth Executioner. So let's just take them into that fight and see if these 2, with some whittling down of the Harganeth Executioners before they get into the engagement, can make the difference. So put our bolt thrower back here, you know, put our infantry in front, and just make sure we're shooting. Oh, definitely doing some damage. Wow, doing some really good damage. Wow. They're down to less than half health. They're almost ready to rout before they got there. What is this bolt thrower doing now? So they're less than half. They almost routed before they got there, and they still took half the health off the Longbeards. So that's an interesting combination. You know, I just want to check if that was a fluke. Rematch. All right, because these are exactly the same cost as the Harganeth Executioners by themselves. You know, maybe this is some kind of package you can think of together. So they're they're just in range. Okay, put our Longbeards out here. Okay, oh, they're shooting, okay. Wow. These bolt throwers aren't bad. And the bolt throwers are really anti-large, right? Armor, but their armor piercing is a big thing. They're going to be down to half health again. Let's get in there and fight, I guess. And see our Longbeards are just losing, though. These Hargoneth Executioners are really good. Even with a bunch of models gone. They might still take the Longbeards. Oh, they're Longbeards, so interesting. So let me do two more combinations. Maybe 3 more combinations. Oh, bolt thrower is impressive. And the bolt thrower has good range. Like, it's good against Cav and could be used for shooting dragons too. So really quick, it looks like the bolt thrower has some legs. I'm gonna have to do some tests. They got 50 kills. Alright. Let's get a unit of Thunders in there. Now these Thunders, you know, we're getting 150 more gold than the Hargoneth Executioners. But let's just see what the Thunders do in comparison to that bolt thrower. I have a feeling they're not going to do as good. The bolt thrower did really good. Mind you, the Hargoneth Executioners do not have shields, so alright. Are they going to get them down to half health? Yeah, not quite. Yeah, I don't know. Thunders are not going to do as good for sure. Because now I can't shoot them. You know, unless I kind of do something goofy and come around here. But Hargoneth Executioners, if they have any kind of health left, they're just... Yeah. Yeah, they're going to come now kill all my Thunderers too. Alright. Well, the Thunderers look like they're winning, but... Anyway, so let's take a look at... okay, we'll see this defeat. Yep. In battle. So it looks like the Thunders couldn't do the job as good as the Bolt Thrower. It's interesting. Let's take a look at just our regular Ranger. Just setting up behind our Longbeards. See if they can, because I think they can still shoot into the line, generally speaking. Because these guys are actually now cheaper. Okay, put these guys in front. You know, something like you'd see in a battlefield. Yeah, I'd see them both that far apart. And we'll see if our Rangers can do a significant amount of damage. Because these Hargoneth Executioners do not have shields. And we'll see if we can still get shots off in the line. Oh man, our Longbeards are getting dumpstered. Yeah, they're still shooting. That's so weird how that, when they change that arc, it's still getting shots in. But it doesn't look like it's going to be enough. Nope. Well, maybe. Very, very close. Yeah, they both routed. Alright, so we'll quit that battle. Let's take a look at our Rangers with great weapons. As they tend to be pretty good at killing armored. Oh, we can take a look at our Iron Drakes and our Skolder Guard. One more test, and then it's time to call it for the night, I think. Because this is how I end up staying up way too late. Is I start playing with these different combinations and start looking at different ideas. And, well, I know all you Total War fans know exactly what that is. One more turn syndrome, right? Alright, so one more test. One more quick test. We'll see how it goes. So we got our Rangers with great weapons. And they should do a ton of damage. They don't do as much when they're coming in, but are they going to keep doing damage while the fight is going on? Looks like it, but... well... doesn't... see, the thing is, it doesn't look like it's a whole lot better. Well, a little bit better then, I guess, than their regular rangers. Okay. Alright, so kind of a really interesting combo for dealing with these Harganeth Executioners is a Bolt Thrower and a Longbeard. Although Longbeard, we would put them out at 4 chevrons. So that it's going to be a little bit more expensive, but the Bolt Throwers will have more utility than other than just taking these Harganeth Executioners out. Might be an interesting combo to have like even 3 Bolt Throwers to deal with if they have 3 units of Harganeth Executioners. And then once the frontline engage finishes, you can put your Bolt Throwers on Cav, or if they have what do they have good decent missile infantry on, you know, if they have you know, Dark Shards with shields or something like that, or they have Cold One Knights, probably Cold One Dread Knights or Dark Riders, Cold One Chariot, something like that. Might be an interesting combo. So that'll be it for the very first episode in the Dark Elves preliminary testing. Again, not the kind of thing for everyone, but for those people who want to kind of be a part of the process, I'll go through and do just a lot of playing around like this, and then we'll get into the hard testing where we really try and dig in and find good value in our units and our chevrons. So that'll be it for the first episode, and we'll see you soon. Have a good one.